Tower Blue, 650 volt, inbound.
50, 27 left, clear to land, 230 at 20.
7 left, Blue, 650.
29 right turn, ground 9.
707-270 heading south of 1516. We are due our best. 35 every day, south 15.
Giant 74 Tango Whiskey, 2.6 for 3,000, 140.
We do have a video camera system on board and it's rolling, so we can give it a shot. The camera's here in the front. We have 3 other cameras outside the aircraft. We'll be filming today's flight. You'll be able to see the result of that footage in the main building here when we get back. Should have our seatbelts on low and tight. Check that. Okay, and everybody had a chance to see a safety video inside. Okay, any questions on that? No questions. Okay. All right, well in that case we're going to be out of here real soon. All right, guys, let's go flying.
Jumping off the deck, shoving into overdrive.
Okay guys, we are clearing the airport environment behind us, which means I'm done talking to air traffic control for now. Got the passenger mics coming on, so you can use those at any time. And currently we're over the top of Wili Harbor. This is the only deep water port on island. It's where our cruise ship comes in. It's also where all of our cargo ships come through. Bought anything on the island, there's a good chance it came through here at some point. Now this pond that's kind of low on the right side is what we call the Minahoney Fish Pond. And it doesn't look like much, but we think that's probably was hand dug about 800 years ago by some of the first Polynesian settlers to the island. And those settlers probably came up from the Marquesas Islands, which is thousands of miles to the southwest of here. And they would have later on been followed by Tahitian settlers out of Tahiti. They all traveled on double-hulled canoes and navigated by the stars, and eventually this is where they ended up. Now that's Mount Haupu directly in front of us, really more like 1 o'clock or so, about 2,200 feet to the top there. And then we're going to be flying kind of through this low point in the mountain range, this is the Haupu mountain range. The low point is called Kipu Kai, or the Kipu Gap, because Kipu Kai is the half-moon-shaped piece of property that's surrounded by mountains on all sides off our left side. This property belongs to the Waterhouse family. They were given this property by the Rice family, who owns all the fields and property on the right side of the mountain. About 1,800 acres total down here, and includes the upslopes of these mountains and whatnot as well. And when the Waterhouse family received this piece of property, it wasn't too long after that we became a state here in Hawaii. They were then required to pay property taxes on that property. And so they went to the government and they said, well, we don't want to pay the taxes on this land, so what if we agree to give it back to you 2 generations from now? And the state agreed. So they've never paid any property tax on that land, and they're in the 2nd generation of family now. The youngest member of the family, I believe, is 76 or 78 years old, so at some point that land will revert back to the state, and I've heard rumors that the state is going to give the property to the University of Hawaii, and that they'll use it for research purposes. So it should stay remote, beautiful like it is now, and maybe a few more college students will have access to it for some of their research. There is also a private museum down there. Got lots of little artifacts and whatnot from all over the island of Kauai. And it was rumored that it was a getaway for Jackie Kennedy after her husband was killed in Dallas all those years ago. There's a guest book in the little museum down there, and her name is written down in the book the week after the assassination. So just sort of a unique piece of history here in Hawaii. Doesn't really factor in anything else than just being kind of a neat piece there. But we're coming around the south side of the island right now. This is Poipu off of our right side, where these big hotels are, right along the water's edge. Poipu is where most of our resorts are, actually, here on the south side of the island at least. And then just upslope from there, so further off the right side, is Kaloa town. And Kaloa is where our old sugar mill factory used to be, at least the sugar mill factory for this side of the island. The sugar was the #1 agricultural product in the Hawaiian Islands for nearly 2 centuries. And all the flat land that you see, whether it's on the south, east, or north sides of the island, at one point was sugarcane. And the short version of that story is that they just don't grow it anymore. Not here, not commercially anyway. It's gotta be too expensive to grow and harvest and export sugar in Hawaii. And so they do that elsewhere in the world. What we've done is we've planted other things in those sugar fields, and we'll talk more about some of those other crops here in a few minutes. you'll see some solar panels kind of upslope here from us. Nothing too uncommon about that. But one of the unique things about the island of Kauai specifically is that we don't have a power company on island. We have a co-op. And so if you create electricity on island, even if that's just solar panels on your roof, you are part of the co-op, you're part of the creating electricity here on the island, and you get paid for that. And it typically just comes off your bill, whatever that would be, and the co-op is the one who's sort of in charge of that. But it's sort of interesting what's happened is we have basically a lot of different forms of electricity that have sort of popped up on island as a result of all this. So we've got hydroelectric in multiple places across the island. We've got diesel generators on the island. We've got solar. And we have an incinerator, even, that creates about 20% of our electricity on the island. And our incinerator burns eucalyptus. That's what it runs on, is eucalyptus tree. We have planted a lot of eucalyptus trees in our old sugar fields. They're a fairly fast-growing tree. The wood is dense. Eucalyptus oil is flammable. And so it's kind of the perfect ingredient for our incinerator. We do also burn anything that's invasive, like African albizia, which is a big, beautiful tree, but it actually tends to choke out a lot of whatever the indigenous species that would be growing beneath them. Now, in addition to that, we do have mahogany on island. Mahogany is a beautiful tree. It's fairly dense wood. It's really rich in color, and it's typically used to build furniture and stuff like that. The largest mahogany forest in the U.S. is on the northeast corner of the island. We're just about to fly over the Kauai coffee farm here. All these dark green fields that you're seeing close to us are part of the Kauai coffee farm. It's about 3,000 acres. It's 4 million plants down here, which is they've got about 5 different varieties of coffee grown along the ocean here. And this is the largest coffee farm in the United States. They have a visitor center as well, so if you like coffee, or even if you don't like coffee and you want to check it out and learn more about how they grow it, harvest it, process it, and all that, the visitor center is kind of down where these industrial buildings are, and that might be worth your time. Now, we're going up the Hanapepe River Valley now. This is the big kind of gap in the earth beneath us. And all of the land, both in front of us and to the left, all the way down to Waimea Canyon and the ocean, belongs to the Robinson family. It's about 55,000 acres total, and they are the largest landholders on island. They have been for about 170 years. They initially bought the island of Ni'ihau, which is to the southwest of us. It's the 8th island in the chain here. And they went out there and built a house on Ni'ihau and brought cattle and sheep to the island. And it didn't take long for them to realize that that was not going to be a good spot to raise cattle. It's too dry out there. So they came back and they bought the property here on Kauai. And they have a few houses out here. There's a house down near Waimea town, if you've been out that way already. It's called Kapalawai. And that house is about 1 acre large. It's really enormous. And they would spend, the Robinsons would spend their winter months down along the ocean there. And then when it got too hot in the summer, they would come upslope here about 1,800 feet, actually above us now, on these cliffs off to the left side, they built another house called Machiavelli, and they'd spend their summers upslope. It's a lot cooler up here at the higher altitudes, and it's a little bit breezier as well. And then they do have a hunting cabin up in way up in the mountains as well. Now, all that to say that other than those, few buildings, there's a few others kind of here and there around the property. The land looks very much today the way that it would have looked all those years ago when they bought this property. And that's because they committed when they bought the land to conserve it and to preserve the culture as well. And they've done just that. You won't see any neighborhoods out here. You won't see any shopping centers or new housing developments or anything like that. And the same is true in Niihau, by the way, as well. There's one small village over there, and it's called Pu'uwai. The people that live there speak Hawaiian. They're descendants of the first Niihauans, a lot of them are at least. And they've been there a long time. Now, we're just coming up to a big waterfall. You can probably see that, front left side, excuse me. This waterfall you've probably seen before, to be honest. If you've seen the first Jurassic Park movie, which was released in 1993, and you have. About 10 minutes into that film, there's a helicopter that flies up the valley, just like we are, and they go on to land at this fall. We call it Jurassic Falls, but for centuries, the Hawaiian people have called it Mana Vaiopuna, which means the deep water.
What kind of wildlife are here, like predators or just in general?
Yeah, it's a good question. Not much is a short answer. We've got mountain goats, hogs, black-tailed deer. Those are the three non-domesticated animals we have on island, unless you want to count the chicken. But everything else is pretty much some sort of farm animal, like a cow or a horse or a sheep, that sort of thing. We don't have mongoose on Kauai like the other islands do. They were never brought here. We're very careful about what's allowed here even now. That's true of both animals and fruit, for that matter, reptiles and everything else. They are pretty strict about protecting the land from invasive species. We've had enough things like plants and whatnot, and animals for that matter, that have come out here and destroyed a lot of things to where it's made the Hawaiian government pretty careful. But that being said, the few non-domesticated animals that we do have, there is an open season for those if you like to hunt and that sort of thing. And really hogs, that's open season all year round. They populate so fast. A mother hog can have up to 9+ piglets a year. So we're just coming up on Olokele Canyon now, kind of almost beneath us. It goes down towards the town of Waimea on the left side. And actually, Waimea town is the site of the first European landing in the Hawaiian Islands. Captain James Cook set foot there in 1778, and he was not looking for Hawaii. He was actually looking for the Northwest Passage, which was supposedly going to take him to the Atlantic Ocean. from somewhere up near what is today Alaska. He's on his third exploration journey in the Pacific Ocean on behalf of the English Crown when he accidentally stumbled upon the island of Kauai.
Is this canyon a popular place for rock climbing?
You know, you'd think by looking at it, it certainly looks like it is. Volcanic rock is pretty brittle though, and so it doesn't hold pegs very well. Also, handholds can be brittle and not trustworthy out here, so we don't see that too often. This is Waimea Canyon that we're coming into, sometimes called the Grand Canyon of the Pacific. You'll notice the dirt is sort of a red-orange color out here. Volcanic rock has a high iron content. As the iron is eroding at the surface, it oxidizes and rusts. The main Waimea River runs down the left side of the helicopter down towards the ocean. And then out the right side is Po'omau Canyon. Po'omau runs back and it dead ends at a cliff. Just above that cliff is the beginning of the Alakai Swamp. It's actually the highest swamp in the world. It's over 4,000 feet up back there, and those higher altitudes keep the temperatures down and the bugs away for the most part, which makes it a nice place to camp and hike. The reason we have a swamp at all on our island is because the summit receives a lot of rainfall. A lot of that rain comes down the back side of the mountain and sort of pools through the forest that's up there. And beneath that is where the swamp lies. Currently over the top of Waimea State Park, and then upslope from us to the right is Kokee State Park. Both of these areas are well known for their hiking trails, so if you like to hike, this would be a great spot to end up on island. There is a museum and a restaurant at the top of Kauai as well, both of which are really great. And then downslope of us, which is left, is Polihale Beach. It's kind of behind these cliffs, or at the bottom of these cliffs. It's the longest beach in the state of Hawaii. It's about 12 miles. And then these white buildings that look like spheres, those belong to Barking Sands, which is a military base in the southwest corner of the island. They use the equipment upslope here to track satellites in outer space. We're just coming down over the top of Nuololo Valley right now. As we cross over the top of it, it's going to put us onto the Nepali coast. Nepali in Hawaiian means the cliffs, which I think you'll find is a pretty appropriate name for this place. Top of Honopu Beach and the Honopu Sea Arch right now as we head into Honopu Valley here.
Trouble that can be named, a tiger waiting to be tamed, singing. Opportunities, am I a part of the cure, or am I part of the disease, singing you?
Kalalau Beach low off the right side. It's the end of the Kalalau hiking trail, which goes from Ki'e to here and back. It's 22 miles, and you do have to have a permit to camp or hike the trail. I'll point out Ki'e to you here in a little bit. There's the Honopu Sea Arch on the right side this time. And then all these spire-like rocks that are coming out of the cliff face sort of all over the place. We call these cathedrals. This is Kauai Valley off the right side. It's the largest valley on the Nepali coast. We know that at least 500 people lived in this valley at one point in time, and possibly many more. Those early Polynesian settlers we were talking about when we first took off, that came up out of Marquesas and out of Tahiti, you know, those people got to Marquesas and to Tahiti probably from Asia, places like India and China and Southeast Asia. At least that's what we call those places today. Now, this was a long time ago, and they disseminated out across the South Pacific and went south and east and north from there, and eventually people arrived here in Hawaii. And they moved into places just like this, which sort of seems maybe inconceivable to us because this is pretty remote, it's pretty rugged, it's not easily accessed. But the main thing to remember is that the Hawaiian people, the first Hawaiian people, were looking for beaches to bring their canoes, which is how they traveled, on shore. And so you saw Kauai, you saw Honopu Beach. Those have been great places to bring your canoe on shore. And then, of course, up in the valleys themselves, there was fresh water flowing through the bottom of them, and the walls of the valley would have provided protection from the wind. Not to mention the main source of food would have been here in the ocean close by. So I think maybe early on, this would have been the perfect place to live. And that's true of all the islands. A lot of the remote places, like the east side of Molokai or the north side of Big Island, were inhabited early on, even though they're remote and rugged. Now, it was that way for about 600 years. Polynesians living here and thriving in small communities with chiefs or ali'i, that was Hawaiian royalty, as the head of their tribes. And then, as I mentioned, in 1778, Captain Cook arrived. And his discovery led to a lot of Westerners arriving in the islands, from America and Europe mostly. And pretty quickly, those new Westerners discovered that the soil here in Hawaii, the volcanic soil, is really rich in nutrients and perfect for growing crops, especially crops that like warm weather, like sugarcane or pineapple, or maybe any of the other crops that you're familiar with that are kind of known for being grown here in Hawaii. And so these plantations started springing up, and the plantation owners became very popular and very wealthy here in the islands. And by 1893, so just over 100 years after Cook's discovery, a group of American business owners overthrew the queen. That was Queen Liliuokalani at the time. She was a descendant of Kamehameha I, who his family had ruled in Hawaii for almost all of the 1800s. And by 1900, we had been annexed as the territory of Hawaii under the United States, and we joined the Union as the 50th state in 1959. So, you know, that's just the abridged version there, but it's a short history nonetheless, about 800 years of humanity living here in the islands. And when you compare that to Europe or Asia or Africa, it is relatively short. But it's a rich history, and it's not, you know, without its ups and downs, just like anywhere else in the world. But it's ours, and we've got a lot of great museums here on the island if you're interested in learning more, either about local history or the history of the islands themselves. Great view of the Nepali, by the way. About 14 miles of cliffs here.
up, that's where you find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dream that you dare to, oh why can't I? Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind.
If you happen to see yurts or small buildings that seem like they're out in the middle of nowhere, these are research facilities. And you kind of see them hidden away here. There are a lot of biologists that come up here by helicopter to research plants and other things and their natural habitat. About 2% of the plants on island here only grow here in the world. And a lot of them, I don't know, I couldn't probably list a whole lot of them for you, but I can tell you this, that a lot of them are plants that you're probably familiar with, but they might just be a different variety of the plant, like a different variety, for example, or something along those lines. Now we're crossing over Wainiha Valley. That's this big valley that kind of cuts right underneath us and heads up towards the summit of the island, and those clouds kind of way off there on the right. Down the left side is the North Shore. And just to kind of be clear on what's North Shore and what's not, we call the Nepali coast, even though it faces north, it's more considered like the northwest corner of the island, if you can have a corner on a circle. And then the North Shore is the part of the northern portion of the island that you can actually access by car. So Hawaiian Town, which is immediately off the left low, is the last town out here on the north side of the island. It's known for being the home of Kauai Beach, which is where the road ends and the trail begins out here on the north side of the island. Kauai, that trail that begins there at Kauai is called Kalalau. That's the one we spoke about earlier, and is probably the most famous trail in the state of Hawaii. It's also home to Tunnels Beach, which is where they filmed the movie Soul Surfer. That's Bethany Hamilton's story. And then the next town over is Hanalei, which you can see the bay of Hanalei out the left side there. Umahai Valley, which is the valley that we're over right now, divides Hawaiian Town from Hanalei Town. Hanalei is typically full of sailboats. People come here from all over the world, actually, to drop anchor at Hanalei. At this time of year, the waves get so big off the North Shore that the bay is empty. There's no sailboats there. Look at these big low-pressure cold fronts that come down out of the Bering Sea and Russia and Alaska and move towards Hawaii. And by the time they arrive here, they're not very cold anymore, but they do bring a lot of moisture, so rain. And then they also bring big swell with them. And so we get a lot of big waves. It's not uncommon to have 30 to 50-foot waves off the North Shore of any of the islands in the wintertime. In fact, one of the largest waves in the world is just off the North Shore of Maui at a place called Peahi. That wave can be 100 plus feet sometimes. And then out in front of us is the third town. We're going kind of west to east here on the North Shore. That's Princeville, where all the brown roofs are down there. Princeville is known for its resorts and its golf courses. And then way off the right side is Kilauea. There's a little peninsula that goes out, and there's a rock at the end of it. Kilauea is probably best known for the lighthouse, the Kilauea Lighthouse. At the end of that peninsula, it's a place you can visit. It's a historic site. They do have a little visitor center down there as well, which is really great. You cannot go into the lighthouse anymore. They stopped doing that around COVID. come across this ridge line here beneath us, and it'll put us into the back of Hanalei Valley. Hanalei kind of curves down the left. It goes around a big mountain called Namo Lakama, heads towards Princeville, and then takes a sharp left and dumps out into Hanalei Bay near the pier.
When darkness falls, your heart will be true. You walk a lonely road. Oh, how far you are from home. Morning would to believe, and you will find your way. Morning, a promise lives within you now. May it be the shadows call, we'll fly away.
Welcome to Waialeale. This was the main volcanic crater here on our island before it went dormant. The floor of the caldera beneath us is about 2,000 feet above sea level. These cliffs that are all around us are another 3,000 feet on top of that. And the summit of our island is inside this cloud here, top left side, just over 5,200 feet.
Eyes to find the sun. Morning would to believe, and you will find your way. Morning, a promise lives within you now. A promise lives within you now.
Waialeale is one of the wettest places on Earth. They receive on average over 450 inches of rain through here a year. And the wettest year ever recorded in the United States also happened here in 1982. They had over 650 inches that year. That's roughly 40 feet of water that falls on top of that mountain every year. The wind that comes out of the east or northeast most of the year we call the trade winds. And the winds themselves bring these clouds with them. The clouds roll in and they get stuck on the mountaintop sort of all around us, where they start to build and condense and other clouds join into the mix. Eventually the result is rain. Rain is not only what keeps the ground so green through here, it's also what feeds most of our waterfalls on island. And just to give you a little contrast, the far west side of our island out near Waimea Canyon where we were earlier, it's about 19 inches of rain a year. It's less than 20 miles away. So less than 20 mile difference, there's over a 400 inch difference in average annual rainfall. Now, as far as our volcanoes are concerned, in Hawaii we have shield volcanoes. The shield volcano gets its name from the way that it looks from a distance. It looks like a shield floating on the surface of the ocean. kind of rounded on the top and they ooze lava, they don't explode. And anywhere you see a hill, like this one on the right side, where it's got kind of a divot in the top like that, there, that's called a volcanic vent. That's where lava would have come out of the side of a volcano. And the best example of a volcanic vent in the Hawaiian Islands is at Kilauea crater over on Big Island. It's on the side of Mauna Kea, and Kilauea is the only active lava flow in the islands, currently. We're getting a little closer to the airport here. I'll be talking to air traffic control kind of off and on as we make our approach. While the passenger mic's off for the remainder of the flight, I'll still be able to talk to you guys. You just won't be able to talk to me on the mics, and I'll be back with you in just a moment. That's Wailua Falls off the left side.
I saw you in my dream. We were walking hand in hand on a white sandy beach of Hawaii. We were playing in the sun. We were having so much fun on a white sandy beach of Hawaii. The sound of the ocean soothes my restless soul. Sound of the ocean rocks me all night long. Those hot, long summer days, lying there in the sun on a white sandy beach of Hawaii. The sound of the ocean soothes my restless soul. The sound of the ocean rocks me all night long. Oh, last night in my dreams I saw your face again. We were there on a white sandy beach. Oh.
So we're on the east side of the island at this point. Lahui is on the right side. It's the second largest town on the island. About 8,000 people live there. And Kapa'a is on the left side of the helicopter, kind of way down there. It is the largest town on the island. About 10,000 people live there. Kauai is not only the smallest of the big four islands as far as land size is concerned, it's also the least populated. About 72,000 people live on island.
on the beach in Hawaii. Hey, I wish you were here with me, walking on the beach in Hawaii, playing on the golden sand, looking at the ocean. Now I understand. Love is like the open sea, and I wish you were here with me. On the beach in Hawaii. Since you've been gone away, I think about you every day. Don't you know I miss you much? And you know I need your touch. I'm on a rocky cliff.
Okay guys, we are safe and sound back on the ground.